Welcome to the True Word Faith for Life podcast. I am Dr. Shawn, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. I survived a 92-mile-per-hour head-on collision. I came back to life after dying with a transformed, my perspective was completely transformed. Having lived a kinetic life in a darker side of my life, I realized I was just a hungry beggar who found the bread of life and now feels compelled to share it with others. On True Word Faith for Life, I bring the Bible to life with deep insights from the original languages and a Hebraic worldview. So I want you to join our community, if you will. You're going to get inspiring messages that accurately apply Scripture to your daily life. Remember, I'm just one hungry beggar who found the bread of life, telling other beggars where I found them. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for transformative content. Let's dive in. So today, Stand Up for America, uncovering the injustice against Trump and our nation. Now, he's the one paying the big bills, absolutely. But I want you to understand that in this episode, we're going to explore President Trump's suffered injustices and what he is suffering and the ones to come, and their broader implications for the good people of America. Have we forsaken our responsibilities as citizens and the church? Have we allowed evil to infiltrate our governance? Well, yes, I'll give you that answer. Yes. That's the first freebie, the only freebie you're going to get. The answer is yes. So that's a gimme, but the rest of this isn't even a little bit of a gimme. So I want you to join us as we explore how turning away from God's precepts led us to this point and why standing and fighting for righteous governance is crucial. Don't miss any of this eye-opening and perhaps controversial episode. Here we go. Why not? Let's get after it. By the way, remember all the other like and subscribe and blah, 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 all that stuff. So, look, at some point or another, all of us have faced this. You wouldn't believe how many text messages and phone calls and voicemails and emails that I got from people saying, Dr. Shawn, after the judgment, President Trump was found guilty in 34 counts in Manhattan, New York. There was a lot of people that were devastated. I understand it. I get it. I 100% get it. But there's an importance in facing adversity by acknowledging it. You've got to make a plan. Okay, what am I going to do from here on out? And you got to put that plan in place. The always on point Zig Ziglar, who I had the good fortune to meet, often said, you can fear everything and run, or you can face adversity and stand and fight. So why did this massive injustice, by the way, welcome to everybody in chat. Welcome to all you folks listening now. Thank you so much for those that are listening live and also those folks listening on playback. This will be immediately available for playback, and I'd love to hear your comments on it. So why did this massive injustice happen to President Trump? Why is this massive injustice being perpetrated on the good people of America? Well, I want you to understand this massive injustice faced by President Trump and court cases past, present, and to come. There's no doubt about it. They're biased, they're corrupt, they're overtly anti-Trump, publicly anti-Trump, and anti-MAGA judges, anti-Trump district attorneys who ran on, I'm going to get Trump. That's what they ran on. That was their whole thing. And leftist jury pools working at the bidding of the current administration. And you may say, well, you can't throw the jury under the bus. You don't know them. Well, we do know them. I'm going to go into that in a couple of minutes and explain to you why the jury pool is an issue. We're also going to give you an analysis of why these injustices are happening to good Americans. Now, there's a spiritual perspective, how forsaking God over the decades has affected our nation cannot be missed to us. We have to pick up on it. Look, Old Testament Judah, and now, 2 Chronicles 7:14, then if my people who bear my name will humble themselves, pray and seek my face and turn from their evil ways, I will hear from heaven, forgive their sin, and heal their land. Now, first, we've got to understand that we've forsaken God over several decades. We've ignored the precepts and warnings from God to us, just as he did in Old Testament Judah. We stopped genuinely. Now, I'm not. When I say we stopped genuinely being God's people, I'm not saying that we somehow or another. I don't quite know how to put it. We are still God's people. Don't get me wrong. But America is not the church, right? But we stopped, and I want to put this in. I don't want this to get missed. This is very, very important. Please don't miss this. Listen, folks, I'm going to tell you, you absolutely cannot miss this. Please don't miss this. I'm not saying that we stopped being God's people who are perfect. I'm not saying that we somehow or another we let God down. We somehow or another we became something different than perfect. We're not perfect. We never were perfect. We will only ever be perfect. Only ever will be perfect in the presence of God when he returns or we go to paradise with him and his kingdom. But we stopped genuinely being God's people because we stopped standing tall and strong in the world for good and righteous governance. Look, don't get it twisted. Again, not saying that we are in some way perfect or that we think we are. We shouldn't think we are. Religious Rottweilers, listen, you got to stop thinking and acting like that, because that's not who we are. The pulpits of America abdicated their freedom in Christ and independence from the government, interference, government overreach, government insertion into our lives. Why? Because we fell silent on critical social and political issues. And listen, a lot of pastors in the pulpit. I thank God I don't have a pastor like this. But a lot of pastors in the pulpit abdicated their freedom in Christ that we are to claim and independence from government. They fell silent. Critical and political issues, they fell silent because they were afraid of losing their 501c3 status. We abdicated our good governance and our responsibility to bring that about because we were busy working hard, earning and raising our families. By the way, not for nothing, just so you know, it's never happened. No church has lost its 501c3 status for speaking out politically in the United States of America. 81.4% of all the people listening to this are in the United States of America. We have 6 other countries represented. It's happening here, and nobody ever thought it ever would. How about the shift in governance? We abandoned good governance for personal pursuits. The rise of demented politicians and their impact, it started with just a few. Yes, you're right, Nicole. Nicole in chat writes so eloquently, America is spiritually weak and not prepared for spiritual warfare. We don't have the strength in our spiritual war rooms. We have been biased. We've been blessed and haven't strengthened our armor. Amen. We let without the most basic monitoring demented people in all areas of life, including mainstream media, demented politicians. We let them run our elected and unelected governance from dog catcher to the President of the United States. We let evil politicians and their twisted ideologies gain control over our country because we were detached. We were busy not paying attention, not caring, more than just posting on and maybe social media with some angry face emoji or clicking unlike. Maybe on our Instagram, we just clicked off of something we didn't like, but we didn't fight back. Maybe we got in arguments in our private social media groups. We got in arguments among each other, and we became a circular firing squad, as too often we conservatives do. After all, we're just too busy to pay attention to what was being allowed to happen right in front of our eyes because we were too busy and too sleepy. Listen, they aren't going to destroy America. They are destroying America. I'll remind you who they are. I will also remind you that America isn't the church. America is a country built on an idea, wholly independent upon adherence to our founding principles and knowing and living them. The tree of liberty. We just finished Memorial Day, and this should be so fresh in our minds. But the tree of liberty and freedom lives only by the blood of patriots who are willing to fight for her. Listen, Maxine Waters claimed former President Trump was instigating violence in the United States and suggested that his supporters were, I'm quoting this, domestic terrorists who should be investigated for possibly preparing for a civil war. These are not my words. These are Representative of Congress, Maxine Waters, Democrat, California, who should be investigated for possibly preparing for a civil war. Again, not my words, I am quoting. I'm worried that he, being Trump, is so divisive, and he's talking about retribution, and they're talking about revenge, and I think that's dangerous. I think that that's dangerous. He even mentioned civil war at one point, talked about there would be bloodshed, Waters said on an MSNBC interview on Sunday. She was referring to Trump's rhetoric. This is not good for our country, Waters added, but he does not care about democracy. He does not care about the Constitution of the United States. He's in love with Putin and Russia and Kim Jong-un and North Korea. Lindsay Cornick and Adam Sabes and Ron Blitzer contributed to that report. First of all of that has been proven conclusively, without a doubt, all of those accusations to be completely untrue. Completely untrue. They were done, and all of the manipulation of social media and all of those things were done knowing it was a lie. The 51 intelligence experts and leaders who wrote the letter saying that the Hunter Biden laptop was a Russian plant. Untrue. It's proven, and it will be proven this week. The laptop will be admitted into evidence. The contents of that laptop admitted into evidence in Hunter Biden's trial. How about election integrity concerns? Listen, our election system, we allowed changes, seminal changes to our election system, and we allowed ballot harvesting to happen. All of these things happen right in front of us, and we didn't raise Cain by the millions. Some did, some here, some there, but not enough. We laughed at the liberal, pasty basement dwellers at our own perils. They burnt down our cities. Those liberal, pasty basement dwellers burnt down our cities. They caused billions of dollars of damage to cities that we paid for and that we are paying to rebuild. They shut down interstates and colleges. We let them determine our free travel passage by sitting there for hours and hours and hours as they chain themselves together or glue themselves to the road. They did more to shape policy than we ever did. They weren't quiet. They were not peaceful. And you know what? We went along to get along. We ended up being the shooter in circular firing squads in our internal arguments. They didn't do that. We let the evil politicians and the pasty community organizers usurp and undermine a solid and secure election system with instead nebulous, unsecured postcards. I can't believe that we allowed that. Pamphlets secretly dropped by the millions. I kid you not, the millions. And they were only dropped, most of them, actually in the middle of the night. only in heavily leftist and misinformed people areas. And we permitted illegal ballot harvesting to take place right under our eyes during what became election month instead of election day. We let that happen. By the way, I know I've said this before, but please, you must watch Dinesh D'Souza's documentary, 2,000 Mules. First of all, Dinesh is a great guy, brilliant. And this work, you watch that and you will be blown away. It's not conjecture. He shows you every step of the way, the proof. Experts, real experts, show you every step of the way. We ignored obvious violations of election laws and election integrity, captured on video and audio, no less. Why? Because we were afraid that what they would do to us, or what we would lose by not accepting this. We didn't want to be called election deniers. How about the media and misinformation? Mainstream media? It shaped public perception. The consequences of ignoring election laws were vast. Why? We were too busy working ourselves to death to avoid personal financial collapse, and we were too ambivalent about makes me so mad, about driving into poverty, the obsolescence, the corrupt mainstream news media, propaganda for lying right to our faces. And instead of reporting the news, they created the news. We still watch them. We didn't boycott them. We didn't say we're done with you. Some people say they did, but they still watch it. We know that. How do we know that? Because their numbers are still up. Businesses that hate our guts, that said the most horrible things in the world about us, guess what? We still buy from them. We still buy from companies who despise us and want to destroy us. We're right not to trust many of the people we don't trust. We're right to be tired of being called racists or misogynists or haters. We're right to be tired of being called Bible-thumping gun nuts. We're right to be tired of being called election and science deniers. Listen, the science has to make sense. The science has to be, in some way, science. You can't just call something science and say, well, that's science. You can't deny it. We're right to be tired of being called insurrectionists. If January 6th was an insurrection, you'd know it, because they wouldn't have gone unarmed and had a patriot shot in the head, shot in the neck. Unarmed patriot. None of these people were armed. We're right to be tired of being labeled as Nazis and dictators and American destroyers. We're right to be outraged and we're right to be insulted, but we are not right to be silent about it. We are not right to abdicate our responsibilities to demand good governance and reject what we see happening right before our eyes. We've seen this coming for a long time, decades even, but many did not want to believe it. Listen, we're not right to accept the abuse of our hard-earned income, confiscated through unfair and unequal taxation, to pay for their evil policies. And, frankly, demonic actions championed by the legislators. I'm a huge fan of fair tax, flat tax, whatever you want to call it, whatever label you want. I'm a fan of that. 10% on a postcard. Okay, calculator, 10% of income. This says this is my income. Okay, write a check, do a little transfer, whatever. Boom. Done. Bada boom, bada bing. We are not right to be naive and poorly informed, such that we make bad decisions regarding our own governance because we're too busy. Listen, what happened in that New York City courtroom was easily predictable and was easily predicted repeatedly by many voices crying out in the wilderness, including me. We could all see this coming. But what did we do? They were here, and we were silent. Pastors in churches all across America retreated from political discourse because they feared you wouldn't like them if they gave political discourse. You wouldn't like them if they did. They feared you wouldn't put the Federal Reserves in the offering plate if they did. They feared the government would come after them, so they were quiet and soft. And you might ask, what about all the moral issues with Donald Trump? Let me be clear. The defendant in that sham trial is not running to be our church's pastor, but rather our country's president. He's not leading prayer meeting. Listen, let me tell you what, he's in a bar fight in Washington, D.C. He is in a bar fight, and you don't want a soft man fighting for you in the middle of a bar fight. Some men do, listen, softies, people that cry up, men that aren't ready to stand up and take the punches, those people don't belong in a bar fight. Soft men don't win the fight. And I will tell you this, we're in a brawl. And we've been sleeping in. We've been sleeping in this delusion of comfort, yet we're in a brawl. And we've been sleeping through it instead of fighting to win it. Look, if you think that Judge Juan Marchand will not remand the 45th President of the United States of America to jail, you have another thing coming. Get your head out of the sand. Did you expect the sham of the January 6th Unselect Committee to render a fair and just finding while barring any testimony or evidentiary challenges from the uninvited defense? No. They hired, with your tax money at a rate of hundreds of millions of dollars, a Hollywood movie producer and director to film it all and to direct the entire debacle. Some of you were deluded, but not anymore. Did you think the New York City Kangaroo Court and their choice for presiding judge Juan Marchand, an avowed and publicly vocally despiser and campaigner against President Trump and D.A. Bragg, who ran on getting Trump? Do you actually think they'll stop short of putting Trump in jail because of what it might do to the country? Did you actually think a jury pool that mysteriously stated, which is completely impossible, that they did not have an opinion on Donald Trump? I don't know. You have an opinion on Donald Trump? No, I don't have an opinion on Donald Trump. Listen, they'll do anything. They'll do anything to find him guilty. They wouldn't do anything other than. If you believe otherwise, you think that they all won't be delighted and revered as heroes to the left to be the ones that put Trump in jail. And ask yourself why the left will stop at nothing to stop him and to silence him. Listen, a Trump jail sentence of any length to Rikers Island prison without Secret Service protection is a death sentence for him, and they know that fully. But do you know that? Epstein, the corrections officers fell asleep. Oh, and the cameras just happened to shut off. And he hung himself in a manner that is impossible. They didn't want that guy to talk, so they killed him. And they don't want Trump leading this country again. You put the pieces together. Ask yourself why. Ask yourself why they hate him so terribly and deeply so that they'll destroy America to get to him. Ask yourself, what are they terrified of? Please, don't let me just say that and let that find an echo. Give it some serious consideration. Look, we roll too quickly through this blinking stoplight because we're all too busy. We're all too distracted, and in many cases, too ambivalent to think about it. Look, why is it essential to reject evil policies and demand good governance? Because we will die as a country without it. What is the importance of staying informed and staying involved? Because if we don't, our country will fall apart. It will die. You don't think that's possible. But I have been in countries that completely devolved and died as a country as it was happening. The day before, no clue it was coming. That day, what in the world? The day after, they never looked the same. What the left that surrounds you, make no mistake, they surround you. What they did to Trump, they'll do to you. They'll do to those who don't have the resolve or the resources President Trump had. They did it to him, and they'll do it to you if we let them. Look, we got to stand and fight against this of all of these areas of adversity. Elections have consequences, and so does our ambivalence. The question is, do you have any consequence? Are you a person of consequence, or are you just a hidden and naive member in a system that consistently ignores and disrespects you? Listen, as Zig said, you can absolutely 100% abdicate. You can run. You can run. You can fear everything and run, or you can face adversity and you can stand and fight. This is not a maybe. This is a must. Who are you? Who are you as a citizen? Who are you as a person? Who are we as a country? Look, we've covered why this happened. There's a lot of minutiae that we didn't get into because it's pointless in repeating again and again and again. My friends, we're in the fight for our life. Whether you hate Donald Trump or you love Donald Trump, that is pointless. The left hates you. They will absolutely destroy you. With every opportunity that presents itself, they will destroy you. They'll destroy our country. And they don't care. They've watched our cities burn because they instigated our cities to burn. They don't mind what you lose. They don't mind what you miss. And they don't really care about your faith. They hate you. I know it's hard to take in, but it's true. You have to decide, resolve, and stand. At some point, the cost to us personally has to be immaterial. Just as we would stand for Christ, we stand no matter the cost for our country. Listen, we're not who we used to be. We are not. We are absolutely not who we used to be. But you want to know something? It's time we became that again. Because the tree of liberty has been watered by the blood of patriots who were willing. May God bless you and keep you. I'm Dr. Shawn, and that's all I have to say about that.